One of the things that I think I really like about what I've heard you say on other shows before is that we can look at anything as a trainable skill. We can look at anything as a trainable skill. And one of the probably most beneficial skills that I've had that has been absolutely, invaluable and inextricable from my success is the ability to make friends. The ability to make friends. And somebody think, oh, well, that's just natural. That's just, you're just born with it. Well, yes, there's some certain attributes that some people have, certain personality traits, et cetera. But actually, learning how to make friends is also a trainable skill.
Yeah.
And part of that trainable skill, like how did Joe Rogan and I get to be friends? Well, I realized early on that people were interested if I had vast experience or unique, novel things, stories I could share, things that I could talk about. So by the time I met Joe Rogan, I met him when I was like 28. So I was 10 years into my own psychonautic journey. And I heard him talking about psychedelics. And I was like, damn, I got a decade's worth of experience. I can tell him some crazy stories and we can talk about that. And it was hella hard to get that first meeting. I had to come up with all kinds of different reasons and advertising this fleshlight on his podcast. And I was like, he was like, this is so weird, but there was no podcast advertising. So I was like, we should meet for coffee to talk about it. He's like, really? No, you can just I'll just send you the check. Like, I was like, no, like, let's meet for coffee. Because I trusted that if we met, that we would become friends. I trusted that. So I bet the whole thing on even willing to lose a deal. Nope, no deal unless we just meet for coffee. Well, that coffee turned into a 3.5-hour dinner, turned to him inviting me on the podcast, turned to a 2-year friendship. That 2-year friendship turned into a business partnership. And that was one of the ways that I was able to be successful. And it's still one of the ways in life today is I trust that through all of the different experiences, the challenging things that I've done, the interesting books that I've read, becoming a really interesting person, a person that someone wants to hang out with, and also knowing how to navigate and regulate my energy so that I'm bringing a super like positive, fun, competitive, whatever vibe into a situation so that my presence is additive to their experience with me. And that's something that not only is somewhat natural, but also I'm constantly cultivating. And I think for people out there who want to know, like, how do I build a network like Aubrey? How do I have all of these friends that we can do stuff? Well, build mastery. Mastery is irresistibly attractive. Like, I will talk to the world, foot ping pong champion. If they're like, I see those on Instagram. I don't know, my Instagram feed is always like people doing the craziest shit. I'm like, whoa, I will fucking have lunch with you. Like, you were playing soccer ping pong and you're killing it. Like, if you've done something, like put yourself through the path of mastery, I'm gonna wanna hang out with you. Maybe that friendship won't last long, but there's something to training that skill so that you can become a friend to anybody that you meet.
I love all of that. I do. I agree with all of it. Okay, so this might be really valuable for you guys. Right now, there's the person you are, and there's probably, hopefully, the person you want to be, and there's a gap, right? We agree on that? Okay. So that person that you want to be has traits and has skills that you don't have, right? And I think that traits have been a word that we use as shorthand for bucket of skills. And when I say it that way, I think it'll help make more sense. And so we might make the argument that if you were more charismatic, you would make more money. Let's say that was the argument we were going to do. You're like, okay, for whatever profession I'm in, that would be true to me. Okay, fantastic. Be charismatic. What does that mean? And so right now, the more skilled you are, the more general a command can be given to you and you can still be effective. So someone can, at this point, say, hey, Alex, can you start this business? And I would say, sure. That's a very general command. Now, one level below that, it might be like, can you advertise this product? And I would say, yeah, I can do that. One level below that would be, do you think you can make a post that people would click on to buy this thing? And I would say, yes. And we can keep going down. But the point is that if you have a skill set that you want to attain and you don't know how to attain it, it's because you are using a bucketed word that represents many smaller skills. And so I'll use charisma as the example. So if we say this guy's so charismatic, you have to ask yourself, or at least I ask myself, why? Well, I describe him as charismatic because when he walks in the room, he greets everyone immediately. He uses people's names. He shakes their hand and he makes eye contact. When someone's talking to him, he makes eye contact and he nods his head. When he talks, he looks there and he looks at them and he bounces back and forth. He asks questions to the other person about themselves when he's talking. Now, that's like 7 things. If I said, do you think you can nod your head when someone else is talking and keep eye contact? You'd probably say, yeah, I can do that. It's like, great. That's 1 of 7 skills that it takes to master until eventually people will describe you as charismatic. And so if you don't understand how to do something, you just need to break it into a smaller chunk. Because like we teach toddlers how to speak by approximating sound. It's like, and then they're like, and you're like, clap, 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 clap. And they're like, and then we keep doing it until eventually they're like, and you're like, yeah, right? And so that's their first word. And then you start comparing things between what they know and what they don't know and making an association. You say, bottle, right? And then they're like, bottle, right? And so they can see with their eyes something they know, and then they don't know the word. And so that's how we teach things. And so if we consider, I like to think of myself as a toddler from a learning perspective, because it allows you to take your ego away from a skill. So a lot of times, the skills that we need to learn are on the other side of just kind of like humbling ourselves and saying, you know what? If someone said, go advertise, I don't think I would be able to do it. It's like, okay, well, let's break it down into 6 things. Do you think you can message someone? I can do that. Well, that's a component of advertising. Do you think you could make a post that talks about something that's interesting? Maybe. Okay, well, do you think that you could ask a question in the beginning of a video that someone would find interesting? Yeah, I can do that. Okay. Well, then after that question, we then would make some sort of explanation around why we asked that. Okay, I think I can do that. Right, okay, then at the end, we want to reward them for the ultimate thing that we asked them to begin with. Great. Well, great. If you record that and you post it, that's a piece of content. Okay, I can do that. And so the reason that I write the books that I do and I try to make the content in that way is that if there's something that a trait you want or a skill you want and you don't understand how to get it, it means you just need to break it into smaller pieces. Because if you break it down low enough, you'll be able to do it. And then when you have that, I'm going to go full 180 here. So remember when I talked about at the beginning about you just need to figure out how much money you want to make every day, right? I need to make $3,000 a day. Okay, that means I need to sell this many units. Well, then you connect that and you sell this many units to whatever activity or input you have to do. Because if you look at your calendar in terms of the things that you actually have to do with your time, then it gets a lot easier to plan and allocate. Because your time's your only resource, especially if you're starting out. And so it's like, I need to make 100 DMs because that will get me 1 customer. And 1 customer is worth $200. Great. That means that if I do this every day, I'll make $6,000 this month. Okay. Based on the economics, will those people buy again next month? If so, then great. The next month I do 12, next month I do 18. At that month, I hire somebody who's gonna do it for $3,000 a month, and then I can keep stacking. And then now I've got 1 person doing the same thing and the business keeps stacking. I'm like, wow, I'm a businessman, right? But that's the idea, is that like I believe in breaking things down to the absolute lowest level so that you can make it manageable. And then the more skilled you become, the more you can bucket all of those activities. Like if someone's gonna say, hey, Alex, go advertiser, if Aubrey's like, hey, I wanna do this thing with you, this new supplement. Do you think you could write an email and this is the headline for the email and this, I'd be like, I got it, I'm good. You know what I mean, like understood. But if he was talking to somebody who was super junior, that's probably how he would describe it. But the only instance is that you are the person who's junior in this conversation and you are the one talking to yourself. And that's the gap. What does this person that I want to become have in terms of skills and traits? Can I break those things down into individuals? And then can I break that into activities that I can do on a daily basis? And does that ladder up to the amount of money that I ultimately want to make? If so, great, what's stopping you?